Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are listening or watching this podcast. This is David Valenzuela, founder of Wish Skin Health, on the second episode of iWish podcast. We've got a little bit of new equipment here today. We're going to continue to play with buttons and cords and wires and microphones and cameras until we get it straight. I often get asked a lot of questions about why the brand Wish, where Wish came from, a little bit about my background. So this is going to be a little bit of a biography, you guys, for me, myself, David Valenzuela, how Wish came to be. I actually was working at the Gap, you guys. I was an associate manager for the Gap. Now, I don't even know where Gaps are anymore. I've never purchased Gap clothing since that day, since I worked for them. We were always about basics and polos and all that fun stuff. But I was actually living in Palm Springs, working at the Gap, and I had an interaction. I worked with this gal one time. Her name's Jenna Rack. Shout out Jenna Rack. She lives in, you live in Omaha, right, Jenna? I think you live in Omaha. I think you moved back. We worked together one time, and this is before cell phones, you guys. This is like the 90s. So she called the store to get my phone number. They're like, we can't give you his phone number. He's in management. Then they called me. Can we give? Yeah, blah, blah. So we end up meeting. She says, you know what? I don't know anybody else that would be really excited about my job. Now, you guys, this is me back in the day, like not understanding anything about the professional industry. And I was really just kind of like moving through life. I was in community college, which was not very exciting to me because we had to sit still, and I'm not good at sitting still. I was one of those kids in elementary school that when you'd get your report card, they mail it to your house. And it would often say, David likes to talk during class. Shocking. Shocking. Is anybody shocked? I would get in trouble for talking in class. Whatever. That's great. You know what? Use your voice, people. Talk. Tell your story. So so she said, let's go have dinner, and we're going to have a conversation about what she was doing. And she was working for a company called Aveda, which I lovingly, like the majority of the industry back in the day, call it Avita. So we met downtown Palm Springs. That's where we're based, you guys. So for those of you that have been to Palm Springs, it is magical in the wintertime. We get to wear shorts year round. And we went downtown Palm Springs. We ate at this Mexican restaurant. It's famous, called Las Casuelas. We're having margaritas. And I kept getting this vibe from her that she's so in love with this company. Now, she had told me the story about how she came to Aveda, and she was sending letters and basically stalking the then distributor of Aveda to get a job. She was that invested in the environmental mission, how the product performance, how the product smelled, all of those things. She's like, you know what? I really need to be a part of this. So she's like, I stalked the company until they hired me. So she moved out. This is her first territory. And she said, I'm transferring. I'm actually going to go to Redondo Beach. So we have this conversation, you guys. I'm getting my hair cut at Supercuts at the time. My hair is, for those of you that are watching this on YouTube, is obviously can barely fit in the frame. The higher the hair, the better the day. But what I got from this dinner was how much she loved her job. And I think that I didn't really have the sense for people that really loved their jobs. And that's what really was so passionate about it. She conveyed to me how much she loved her job. And I was like, all right, we got to explore this. So she got me in touch with now you guys, I had a word processor. I had to buy a word processor to actually type out my resume. Okay. So just think about that. Those of you that know, it was like literally, it was basically a little computer, but all you could do was like type in, it was a word processor. And so I typed out my resume, I submitted my resume, and I went through 3 rounds of interviews. Now, you guys, I'm in my early 20s at this point. So even though I'm only 35 right now, call that boy math, girl math, esthetician math, professional beauty industry math, whatever you want to call it, whatever makes you happy. But I went through 3 interviews, and I'll never forget the first the first woman that interviewed me. Her name was Janet Justice. She was actually outsourced for the company to interview me. She was like a recruiting company. I still have the letter that she sent me, which is, so super cute. She came out to interview. We interviewed at the Hyatt Grand Champion, which was an Aveda account here in Rancho Mirage. Beautiful, beautiful. It's actually in Indian Wells. Stunning property. It was an Aveda salon, of course. We had our interview. I was super, super nervous, but we, went through the process, and she basically passed me on to round 2. So then I ended up interviewing. Her name was Jill, I believe Jill Underwood at the time. She got married, and then she became Jill Smith. Shout out to Jill, wherever you are. I think you might actually live out here in the desert somewhere. We need to connect. And she was the regional. She was actually going to be the person I was going to be reporting to. So I went through a second interview with her, and then I got passed down to the third round. So Patty Schmucker, who most of you, if you know the industry, she was actually the owner of the distributorship of Aveda for Southern California, Arizona. I believe we had Nevada, but it basically went up to Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo, in Southern California. That was the territory that we distributed Aveda products to. So I was scheduled to interview with her. I get a phone call the night before and says, "Oh, actually, you're going to be interviewing with Caesar." Now, I didn't know, you guys. I didn't know anything. So the distributorship was called Caesar's Beauty Products Aveda. I didn't know. I wasn't thinking about it. I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything. I was like, what's going on? I'm going to be interviewing with Caesar. So it later changed to Caesar's Aveda, but it was called Caesar's Beauty Products Aveda. And he was the distributor, started it out of his garage. He has since passed away. Rest in soul, rest in peace, Caesar. I appreciate the trajectory of the way that you shaped the trajectory of my life. So that almost brought me to tears for a minute. Got a little emotional. I remember going in. So I was sitting in the waiting room. This is in Rancho Dominguez, which I think has been recategorized as Torrance or Carson or something. I don't know. But we were sitting in the lobby. There was like a water feature. You could smell Aveda as soon as you walked in. And there were like 3 or 4 other people that were interviewing. We were all kind of lined up. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, I'm never going to get this job. These people all have experience. They're all more professional than me. They've all been in the industry for a long time. And I'm just, a kid essentially working at the Gap. So it came my turn to interview. I'm super nervous. You guys, I got there like a half hour early. I actually ate. There was a Coco's at the time. So I had lunch before my interview and I was like super nervous. I had Fermata hairspray. If you know, you know. I was using Shampure. Generac had given me some samples. So I knew the product smelled good and I knew there was something unique and different about it. So of course I'm going to follow it through. So cut to, I go upstairs. We had this executive boardroom, style room that was where we did all of our executive meetings. And Caesar was sitting there looking at my resume. Now, we had to fill out a lot. They sent a bunch of questions and I actually went through and typed out the responses. And I want to say it was like 3 or 4 pages, maybe even longer, of a bunch of questions. And they were sort of like like a personality assessment and how would you manage this situation. And I really put a lot of thought to it. I remember my parents have a timeshare. I was sitting in Carlsbad with my word processor that I purchased from Circuit City. If you know, you know, and typing out my responses. And I was really putting a lot of effort into responding. And I remember him being impressed by the thought and the effort that I had put into actually going through the process and answering all the questions. And I put a lot of effort into it. So I sit down. The first thing he says to me is, "David, I haven't interviewed anybody in years. And so let's just have a conversation." And I was like, okay, at this point, I'm still not putting it together, you guys, that he owns the company. Call me naive, whatever. So we end up having about an hour conversation. And, I was asking me questions about, because it wasn't really industry related because I didn't know anything about the industry. I was a Paul Mitchell kid, go get my haircut at Supercuts at that point. So we go through the interview. We're just having a conversation about where I live, where I grew up. And then I start putting it together. Oh, this guy owns the company, which is making me more nervous. And long story short, we end the interview and he says, "I love your energy, but you don't have any experience." And I don't even know what came over me, you guys. I remember it like it was yesterday. I looked him dead in the eye and I said, "You know what, Caesar? I'm a fast learner." Who knew? Left the room. You guys, we don't have cell phones at this point in time, right? I'm driving my Volkswagen Jetta, living my best life. And I drove back to Palm Springs and they had called and offered me the job on my answering machine. Remember this, we had answering machines. They had called and offered me the job on the answering machine. And my friend Jen at the time was mad at me for something, so she didn't tell me. Shout out Jennifer. But yeah, I was offered the job and I did not know that was going to be a life-altering situation forever. So that's what started me on my career with Aveda. So unlike the fast world that we're in right now, so we actually, when you went through training with Aveda, so we call them domains. So we had a body care domain, we had a we called it natural color cosmetics back in the day. We had a skincare domain, we had a hair care domain, and we had perms. We didn't even had launch hair color yet, but there was a lot of domains and things that we had to actually learn. So they actually put us into it had a kitchen. It was like a live, I don't even remember what it was, but Georgiana Dulcas, love you wherever you are, shout out. Um, and Ava, what was Ava's last name? Ava Neal. We were actually, so think about this, guys, two girls and a dude living in this sort of apartment and had a kitchen in it, kitchenette, for a month together. We were going through training for a month. So we were allowed to go home on weekends. Ava lived in Arizona. Georgina was in Southern California. I was in Southern California. So we drove home on the weekends, but then we would come back and we were in training for a month. And her name was Mona. I don't remember her last name. She was actually the trainer. We went through such, I mean, when you talk about training, companies don't do this anymore. They like slam you into like a 5-hour training and then push you out into the field and be like, go do it. We went through a month and there was a huge final at the end of this that we had to take. And if we didn't pass the final, we were not allowed to go in the field. Imagine that. So me and my little self, we had to learn all about essential oils, the environmental aspects of Aveda, the stability, all of the sustainability that we, now we know Aveda to be. Pure flower and plant essences. We watched videos. We learned about horse. We learned the mission statement for Caesars, which I'll think about it in my head. It will come back to me. It's printed on the back of our business cards. And we had to learn how to perm hair. I mean, it was literally, we knew so much about the products, the ingredients, the technologies, all of it. So by the time we were done, we then took this final and we were then able to go in the field. Okay. So it was a month of training, you guys, unheard of, right? Unheard of. So that started off my career with Aveda. I started off as a salesperson. I had the Coachella Valley. I actually had customers all the way in Blythe, which for those of you that don't know geography, wherever you are in the country or in the world listening to this, Blythe is about 2 hours and change from Palm Springs. It's actually on the border between, it's like a bordering town between California and Arizona. There's actually a prison there. So interesting story. The police, the people that work in the prison get paid extra for an undesirable location to live. So they needed places to spend money. So I had some really thriving accounts there that were carrying Aveda. So I basically ended up getting Temecula, Murrieta, Hemet, where I grew up, Beaumont. I ended up getting all these areas added to my territory. And I was essentially going from salon to salon to salon to salon and supporting people on their daily missions with Aveda. And you guys, it was amazing. So this was 10 years of my career. Back in the day, so we just got a box every week. We didn't have laptops. We didn't have cell phones. We had a voicemail number. It was like 1-800-Caesars, I think was the phone number. And that's how everybody communicated in the company. We could send a group voicemail to everybody, but that was our communication. We got a box of stuff every week, and it was all of our pink slips. Pink slip has a bad connotation, but our pink slips were all the orders that our customers had placed, and we were paid commission. So that's how we kind of tallied out how much money we were going to make it. We were paid commission off of our sales. We got a little bit of a higher commission on our concept salons, and those were salons that just carried Aveda. So you hear me talk a lot about wish about focus, insert focus. I basically got my customers to get rid of all their other product lines and focus on Aveda, and they were uberly successful. You guys, they're still Joseph Saliba, shout out, downtown Palm Springs, is still in the same location. Asher Salon in Indio, still in the same location, still Aveda Concept Salons, all these years later. So I know the power of focus works. I ended up moving up so then another territory came available. I gave up my little Palm Springs territory, which was there's a lot of growth happening and new spas opening. And I was kind of sad to give it up. But I was like, all right, on to the next thing. Moved to the Central Coast, worked the Central Coast, San Luis Obispo down to Santa Barbara. Beautiful, stunning. Anyone that's ever been to Santa Barbara, Montecito, it's where Oprah lives and Drew Barrymore and Rob Lowe. Like there's a whole celebrity. Ellen, I think, has a house there still, like with horses and all this stuff. It is a stunning part of California. Stunning. So I lived in a little town called Avila Beach. You guys, I think the population was like not even 1,000 people. It was so tiny. Like town hall meetings, like visualize that. But I had a house on the ocean. I think it was like $650 a month or something. It was like my house, the street, and then the beach. And I would actually go check my voicemail with my cordless phone on the beach at the end of my day. So just imagine me, cordless phone, my Sony cordless phone, because I was that close to the being able to go and actually get on the phone. So that was such an amazing time. So then I want to say at the end of 98, I had an opportunity. David Wagner, shout out, was opening a location in Palo Alto, was buying a Yosh for hair. And an opportunity came up for me to become the retail director for that location, which I then took. I lived in the South Bay for a little while, but then it eventually ended up living in San Francisco. And I actually worked in the salon for just under 2 years, I believe. And we did a full renovation, you guys. This was the first time that David had bought a salon that had been a legacy salon over 20 years. It was Yosh Toya. He was a phenomenal hairdresser with a very precision bob back in the day. If you know, you know. And this is my opportunity to really step to the other side. Now, coming out of my distribution hat, selling people Aveda, now actually running a full service salon and spa. I believe we had 47, 48 service providers. We went through a complete renovation on this location, you guys. We were booked 6 to 9 months in advance. Hair, skin, nails, you name it. We were slamming, bumping all day. So just to put this in a little bit of context, in 1998, we were charging $125 for a haircut, for a men's haircut. $125. I'm looking at the camera right now because I got to look at you every once in a while. $125 in 1998. So the salon had never been renovated. There was a little mishmash of products here and there. And I remember Yosh having a conversation with me, and he's like, David, we carry the best of every product line. And I remember coming out of Aveda Land, looking at him and saying, you know what, Yosh, actually, you carry the best product you think out of every product line, but it's not necessarily what your customers think. So they had never done more than $50,000 annually. So this, you guys, speaks to the power of focus. They'd never done more than $50,000 annually in retail. We were within a year doing over $500,000 in retail. We took all the other product lines out. We thoroughly trained all the staff, estheticians, massage therapists, nail technicians, hairdressers on Aveda, top to bottom. It was phenomenal. Downtown Palo Alto, Steve Jobs was one of our clients. We had, I'm forgetting his name right now, Jim, kill me. His last name is Montana. He's a football player. We just had a lot of Silicon Valley technology money. This is at the height of the .com. Everybody had money. I remember a day where a woman she offered to pay me $400 to bump another client out so she could have this woman's appointment. And there was just a lot of money and a lot of wealth happening at that time. Technology, it was the .com boom. And I remember looking at her and saying, you know what, that woman is sitting right there. And she's also been waiting for this appointment because we were departmentalized, hair color and cutting was separate. So to get those appointments lined up, people would call at the beginning of the month. We were initially on paper before we converted everybody to salon biz. Whatever, it was chaos. I learned hairdresser pandemonium, esthetician pandemonium. Every day there was some sort of major drama, the dryer catching on fire, an employee getting run over by her own car. Like, just, I'm telling you guys, it could be its own script. It's not a reality TV show because it was that. So cut to March of 2000, an opportunity opens up for me to go back to distribution. I think they had changed our names from account executives to territory business managers. And then I ended up managing the San Francisco territory for Aveda Corporate again. Now, this is post-acquisition. Estee Lauder had already acquired the company. And so this is me now stepping back I'm actually working for Aveda that is now owned by Estee Lauder. So long story short, you guys, I was stellar, if I do say so myself, at my job. I so believed in the mission of Aveda that I converted every single one of my accounts to concept. Dominique Kinsey, who was the president of Aveda at the time, called me and said, what are you doing? I don't understand. I would actually bring all of my salons in and I would host what was called a concept breakfast. And I was smart. I had all of my accounts. I created binders. I created systems, selling systems, organization. I would sell all the launches for like 6 months at a time. And I would call Aveda Corporate and I'd get into marketing and I'd say, send me the PR kit for this, or send me this lab sample for this, send me this, send me that. And I would have my launches pre-sold. And I remember the VP at the time, Trisha Whitby, shout out. I think she lives in Minneapolis now. We were doing a training for all the territory business managers. And she literally looked at me and she goes, David, you don't do it that way, do you? And I shook my head like in arrogance. I was like, no, Trisha, I'm never going to do it like that. So I had my own system, and it was really about relationships and being organized and planning your work and working your plan. I was number one in the company for a long time. Shout out to Lindsay. We had a tourmaline charge hydrating cream launch, and I think she was like, we were probably within like 50 units, but she won. We took a trip to Jamaica, Strawberry Hill. We had an Aveda spa. Like I made every bonus you could make, all the commission I could make. I like maxed everything out. I got promoted into a regional sales manager position. And my last role actually was business development director for Aveda Services Northwest, which I had San Francisco, I had Washington, Oregon, Northern California, and Hawaii. So I've been to, shout out to Michelle. Michelle was one of my reps, and she's one of my dear friends. I stay with her now when we go to Hawaii. Shout out, Michelle. What a phenomenal experience. So, cut to 2005. There's something called the Salon Association. And there was this woman, Jane Werwan, speaking. Shout out, Jane. Shout out, Jane. If you guys haven't read Skin in the Game, I talk about it incessantly. She talks about it incessantly. I love her. She was speaking. She was the last speaker. And you guys, I remember being so inspired by Jane. And I was like, I turned to my coworker at the time. Aveda, at this point, we had gotten a little stagnant. And to make a long story short, Aveda corporate salon owners were complaining about booth renters, people building up their clientele in salons, which is, you guys, it's part of the industry. It's just something, it's just part of the industry. It happens with estheticians as well. They go work at a salon, they build up clientele, and they want to go off and be independent entrepreneurs, and we can't fault them for that. But Aveda Corporate, Minneapolis, it's actually based in Blaine, Minnesota, was saying, you know what, we're not going to support independent contracting salons. So I was in charge of new business. My role had changed over the years. I was running around bringing new business and then passing it off to the rep that managed the territory. And they're like, we cannot open any business that is independent contracting. And I remember talking to my then boss, who shall remain nameless. I don't want to throw shade, but I said to him, what do you want me to do? And he literally over the phone said to me, David, I don't know. And I'm like, you know what? You as my boss, if you don't know what to do, then it's time for me to go. And so I had to start looking for my next opportunity. Those of you that know the salon business in California, it's like 90+% booth rental. So if I'm not able to go and open a new account because there's independent contractors involved, I had to go. It was good timing. As we all know, everything leads to where you're going in your path. So be it. So I saw Jane speak in San Francisco. It was called the Salon Association. And I was so inspired. Anyone that's ever had the opportunity to see Jane speak, it was inspiring. It was motivating. I'm like, I turned to my coworker, Annie McCullough. I was like, Annie, that is why I'm in the industry. Long story short, made a phone call. I talked to Raylyn Cook. Shout out to Raylyn. She still works for Dermalogica today. At that point, back in 2005, she'd been there for 18 years. I'm like, 18 years? What? Then she's like, you know, you need to talk to Sean Morgan. Sean Morgan was the regional director for the East Coast at the time, living in Atlanta. Sean says, you need to talk to my boss. His boss was Glenn Elliott. He was the vice president at the time. And what I quickly was just asking questions turned into an interview. Glenn was then flying out to interview me in San Francisco. They had just opened an IDI there. Long story short, had a job offer. They actually held the position for me until after 4th of July because our fiscal ended at the end of June. And that began my career with Dermalogica. So what an amazing opportunity, you guys. And I've been so obsessed with skin for so long that I literally could not, I was just so excited. I was like, literally, I was so excited about Dermalogica and being focused on skin that ended up being so at some point in my tenure with Dermalogica, just under 7 years, I had every state in the country. So we kept going through reorganizations. I'd have the Midwest and the East Coast. I started off with just the East Coast, everything from Florida all the way up to Boston, Maine. Like that was the whole Eastern Seaboard was my territory. Then I had Texas at some point. I had Illinois, the Midwest, Minnesota. I had all states. Then I shifted over and took over the West Coast I took over as a West Coast. And the West Coast was the most tenured region because that's where, Dermalogica was founded in Southern California. So I remember the outgoing regional saying to me, she actually stepped down, still in the industry. She's like, David, you're never going to make your bonus. You're never going to do that. This is a saturated territory. And I was like, you know what? I don't believe that. And you guys, you know what? I made all of my bonuses. I hit all of our objectives. We had some slow periods throughout that period. We went through a recession, 2008, dropped out. I was still on the East Coast. But when I took over the most tenured market in the company for the globe, you guys, where Dermalogica launched, I exceeded. We grew that market. We continued to grow. I continued to make bonuses, like literally. So it was an amazing opportunity and I love it. And I still love Jane. I love hearing her speak. I love that they sold the company for an undisclosed amount of money that was pretty substantial. I think it's probably one of the largest acquisitions in our space, but it taught me a lot. So then I actually got recruited by a little venture capital company that actually funded this little company called Tesla. So crazy world one, you guys. The brand is called Cosmetics. It was more lots of heavy science, cosmeceutical, more med spa. We had more aggressive peels, but it really gave me the opportunity to now work for a private equity firm. It also had a bunch of other brands in their portfolio. So what I didn't know at the time when starting with cosmetics was I was going to end up reformulating every single product, rebranding the entire company, rehiring an entire sales and education team, training everybody, managing global distribution, Russia, Australia, New Zealand, Europe, Canada, like literally the globe. I traveled the globe and really learned aesthetics on a global platform, which by the way, my acne practitioners were always at the top tier. So cut to where that's going to play in. So that was 5 years of my career. I was living in Atlanta. I love it. Shout out to my team. I believe that there's some people that I hired that still work there. There are still some people I hired, you guys, at Aveda, still work at Aveda. So if that tells you anything, shout out to Thomas Curlin. I hired Thomas in 2006 at Dermalogica. He is still the district manager in Atlanta, won all kinds of awards. I mean, shout out to these people. I just helped Jackie Hansen get a position with another company. I think it's called Intraceuticals or Ultraceuticals. I still give people references today for my Aveda, Dermalogica, Cosmetics. I mean, you guys, it's never ending. Once you're in this industry for over 5 years, you're in it for life. So that was 5 years of my career. Then I got a call from a recruiter from a brand in San Francisco called Face Reality. I had never heard of Face Reality. I didn't know what Face Reality was. No idea. So I didn't want to move. I should have known. I didn't want to move to San Francisco. I'd already lived in San Francisco in my earlier time. I left in 2005. I really loved living in Atlanta. Long story short, took the position and I served as CEO for Face Reality. So this gave me an opportunity, you guys, to really understand acne on a level that I had never understood acne before. I knew that my acne practitioners with other brands were successful, but I saw the scaling aspect. So in 2018, I formed the Wish Group. We started doing consulting out of the gate, but Wish was brewing in the background. And by 2019, we had started formulating our first products. We were scheduled to launch March of 2020. Everybody that knows anything about the pandemic had to put that on hold. I've told the story, but I gained 30 pounds in basically the first 4 or 5 weeks. I didn't know I could gain 30 pounds. 30 pounds, you guys, like 30 pounds. So I literally was like, this is a next level. And I was like, how is this even possible that my body can do this? But, we didn't have access to gyms. Everything was closed. All I could do was walk the dogs. I was watching too much news. And everybody remembers that initial panic of the grocery store, scooping up products and like just no toilet paper, no meat, no anything in the grocery store. So I didn't want to be one of those people. And I just casually walked through the store. And if there happened to be 3 frozen pizzas, I just threw them in my car. There was no canned goods. What a disaster. Whatever. I'm so glad we're on the other side of that because, our entire industry shut down. A lot of my salons that, had been thriving, like in Northern California, had to be closed for 9 months that year, you guys. And this is before the PPP loans came out and people had to close their doors and lay off their staffs. And there was, the government didn't have a plan. So it was a rough time, but I had to sit with myself, take a deep breath. I am a meditator, you guys. I practice transcendental meditation, which I learned in 2018 when I moved back down to Palm Springs. And I have to tell you that was probably the guiding focus for me, being able to just relax and breathe and go, it's going to be okay. We're not going to die. Stop watching the news. And I said, what do I have control over? I had to ask myself this question. What do I have control over? I have nothing. I have no control over anything that's happening outside of my 4 walls. So I literally took it upon myself to finish my education. So go back to that original story, you guys. When I started working for Aveda, I was in community college and I had to drop out of community college to take the opportunity with Aveda. So for me to finish my degree was something I was passionate about. I actually graduated October 2020. I got to walk in a graduation ceremony in 20, was it 2021? No, it was 2022. With both of my sisters, by the way, also got further degrees. My youngest sister has multiple degrees. One of my sisters is a nurse. They're both in the medical field, but we all got to walk together because of all the pandemic canceled graduations. We all got to walk together in graduation. It was so cool. And my best friend, Jennifer, she finished her degree. So long story short, what I actually learned through that period was the platforms that we were using to get digital education. Now, you guys remember that universities were not set up to shift over to independent, like learning on in home. Like every university was scrambling. My university, it's called Western Governors University. It's the most accredited university in the United States. That was very important for me to make sure that it had a lot of accreditation. So if I wanted to continue my degree elsewhere, which I'm currently getting my degree in cosmetic chemistry, this has enabled me to do so. So they were already set up for 100% remote digital education. So you got to go through, it's traditional university. So you have 4 classes per semester. And the beautiful part about it is when you get through those 4 classes, you could actually pull another class in from another term and continue to accelerate at your learning pace. So we didn't have anything else to do in the pandemic. I woke up in the morning, made myself some coffee. I was eating M&Ms throughout the day, a beautiful, amazing diet. And I actually did nothing but school. And when I tell you I was spending 10 to 12 hours a day doing nothing but studying, writing papers. College algebra made me cry. Math still makes me cry. It's not my strong suit. But I made it through. American history, there was a lot of things going on in the world with George Floyd, with civil rights. There was a lot of stuff going on that just made it really relevant. Me going through American history and writing 40 plus page papers on American history, it was a very interesting, unique time, but I knew I had control over it. So I took the opportunity to finish my degree, and I'm so happy that I did it. My degree is actually, I have a bachelor's of science degree in marketing management. I've always had marketing. I always get it. I understand that everything is marketing. We're going to start seeing a lot of political advertising. It's all marketing, you guys. Trying to sway public opinion, but it was fascinating to me. So I loved it. So, but what I was looking at, I was like, our industry, the professional aesthetic industry, we need this type of level of education. We need this level of platform to be able to have access to education. We're in this industry, it's 98% women, and you guys are busy and you have kids and you have dogs and you have husbands and girlfriends and friends, and you've got a busy, busy life. And not everybody has the opportunity to sit in a classroom or spend 12 hours a day doing education. So the platform that we launched, Wish, which Wish, you guys, stands for Wisdom Inspired Skin Health. I trademarked it. I love it. I actually had the concept for Wish in my head when I stopped working for Aveda. So that's how long this dream has been in the manifestation process. I had this sort of lucid dream one day that Wish was going to be my brand. So I'll have to talk about that story. But anyway, I was like, we're going to use a university grade platform that we can actually monitor student behavior. We can actually help our students with wherever they're at in their learning journey with videos and quizzes. And it's going to be a really amazing certification to get certified in acne treatment. So it took that collegiate aspect. People ask me, the number one question I get is, what's the difference between your program and Face Reality? And I say to them, my program is not just about how to use Wish products. You're going to learn Wish products, you're going to learn Wish protocols, but it's not just about products and how to do a treatment. It is thoroughly understanding the pathology of acne, nutrition, PCOS, insulin resistance, different peel technologies. But the premise, you guys, behind my program is microbiome health. You cannot have healthy skin. You cannot age gracefully or age beautifully without a healthy microbiome. And up until me start doing research in 2018, I didn't really have a thorough understanding of what the microbiome was. And having it, we talk about barrier health all the time. You can't have a healthy microbiome without a healthy barrier. So it goes hand in hand. And traditionally, we like to blow the face up when you have acne. And you know what? We're going to have some future guests coming on. We've got some nutritionists in the works. We've got some physicians in the works. We've got a whole bunch of people that are specializing naturopathic doctors or functional medicine doctors. I love them because we go to the root cause of what disease acne is considered a skin disease, what is actually causing it. And we treat that and we help you treat that in your treatment room. There's no cure for acne, but you can manage the symptoms, avoid scarring, mitigate breakouts, keep the skin glowing, beautiful, and healthy through this process, through all those great things. So that is the story, you guys. So Aveda, Dermalogica, cosmetics, face reality led me to Wish. And I couldn't be more happy right now. I handhold all of our graduates. So when you're going through the program, you can access us at any point in time. You can send a direct message to us while you're going through your training. I also get a weekly report of where people are at in their training. We have programs to help you guys be successful. And I'm telling you, my acne estheticians, you guys, certified Wish Pro practitioners, they start talking to me at the beginning, they're like, yes, David, help me with that. They text me pictures, what would you recommend? And I'm like, what would you recommend? And then we go back and forth about a regimen of what professional treatments we should prescribe. And then at about month 4, I'm like, hello, do you want to talk to me anymore? No, you guys, people start getting busy and they're successful. So if you are thinking about a career in specializing in acne, I know that acne programs across the country or acne programs, aesthetic programs, when you're going to get your license, there's very few that actually go in depth on acne treatment, microbiome health. Every time I go speak in a school, the instructors are like, David, I don't have time to go in depth on acne. We just say if they have higher than a grade 1, refer them to a dermatologist. And you guys, 90+% of cases you can treat in your treatment room successfully. There's actually, I would say, less than 5% that actually truly require a medical therapeutic, an isotretinoin, a spironolactone, which they're just oil suppression. It's like we're treating symptoms, we treat symptoms. Topical antibiotics. People come to us, they've been on antibiotics for 2 and 3 years. Their gut health is destroyed. They have constant diarrhea. No, you're not supposed to take antibiotics like that. There is actually a prevalence of antibiotic resistance happening because of the overprescription of antibiotics. So we treat the skin. We basically teach you how to get the skin back into its healthiest state so it can heal itself. And that is going to be through a combination of products and professional treatment. So the average time to get somebody clear is about 90 days. I would say mild to moderate inflamed acne, it's going to be 90 days. You've got somebody with maturation arrest, or maybe somebody that has non-inflamed acne, might take a little bit longer. Your treatments might be a little bit more aggressive to really get that skin clear. But we know that we are going to treat inflammation. We're going to treat bacteria. We're going to treat oils. We're going to talk about nutrition. We're going to treat pigmentation. We call this the 6 pillars of foundation. So if you guys are interested, of course, you can always visit us at trywish.com and click on the professional tab, go to Wish Pro. It gives you a little overview. We are going to continue to highlight, you guys, people that are successful in treating acne on this podcast, which if you're listening to this, you can get this podcast wherever your podcasts are, wherever Apple, Spotify, there's like 100 different platforms you can get them from. We're also publishing them on YouTube, where we're going to put up all of our trainings, all of our peel demos, all of that stuff. So we're going to constantly give you some tips, how to build your business. The takeaway I want you to get from my career path is that each one of my brands has been very, very focused, and there's been a level of success with each one of those brands in creating focus. And you'll hear me say often that a focused business model is your, continuing education is the best thing you can do for yourself and your customers. It's really about focus. As we roll out of 2023 and we roll into 2024, we're getting ready to go into an election cycle. Anyone that's watched our webinars, you've heard me talk about this multiple times. The economy gets a little bit bumpy. And what I want you to do is I want you to think about your business and how to sustain your business through hard economic times. And when you have a sustainable acne built business, your customers don't miss appointments. I was talking to Sherry Flash about a week ago. She's in North Carolina. And, she ran a practice for 13 years and more of a med spa. And she said, you know what, David, my acne patients never showed up late. They never skipped their appointments. They always bought their retail. They always replenished their product. It's a no-brainer, but I'm here to introduce you to the opportunity of Wish and what that actually means. So if you are interested, go to trywish.com and check it out. And then shoot us an email. You can always email us at support@wishskinhealth.com if you have questions about the program or you want to talk about it. We go through all the things that you're going to learn, and it's just awesome. So that is what I wanted to talk about today. Let's see, anything else on my list of things I wanted to tell you? Oh, I just want to talk about my 2 favorite products right now before I let you guys go. Emerge is quickly becoming our number 1 selling cleanser. And this is called Emerge Biome Repair, you guys. It is jojoba and sunflower extract based. And it's called, some people say diesel, some people say decylglucoside. Is a very gentle surfactant that is used also in baby products. It is very, very gentle. We also have beta glucan in here. We have allantoin in here. Very anti-inflammatory. So this is an acne safe cream cleanser. And you can remove your makeup with it. You can apply it dry, but it does not disrupt your microbiome health. That is the whole point behind it. If you are prescribing benzoyl peroxide, we have a series of 3 different serums called Clarify that come in varying percentages. You can prescribe this when the skin starts getting dry to your clients. Everything comes in an airless pump. They are meter dose. You have your clients do 1 pump of product for their cleansers and serums, and they're going to love it. It retails, I think, for $38. It's just a super effective, gentle cleanser. I don't use any synthetic fragrance, no artificial colorants or dyes. Of course, there's no parabens in our products, even though that's a whole nother debate for a different topic, different podcast. And then my second favorite product right now is Conditioning Hydro Mist. So I am addicted to toners, you guys. It's whether it's Dermalogica, Aveda, whatever. When you cleanse your face in the shower, the first thing that I do when I get out of the shower is I mist my toner. Now, this is a glycerin-based toner. There is, I say calendula. Some people say calendula. I don't know. I have to look it up. It's got glycerin, organic calendula, organic aloe. You've got organic cucumber extract. You've got panthenol, which is a humectant. It's provitamin B5. You've got chamomile extract. You've got bisabolol extract. You've got a little bit of L-ascorbic acid, but there are trace minerals in here, you guys. They're electrolytes to help really hydrate the skin, bring the pH of the skin back to normal. It actually helps your serums absorb. You can set your makeup with it, but it's just a really great oil-free product to readjust the pH of the skin, and it helps your serums and your moisturizers absorb. Great at calming inflammation, calming redness. That allantoin is actually approved by the FDA for cuts and scrapes. It's in a lot of OTC products. We use a little bit of that in there to help calm inflammation when you're going through acne. It's an inflamed skin condition. So that's what I got for you today, you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Please, if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to our channel. Give us a thumbs up. If you are listening to this on Spotify, if you're listening to it on Apple Podcasts, it means the world to me if you'd go give us a 5-star review. Write a little bit about what you liked in the podcast, what you want to hear in future podcasts. If you want to be a guest on iWish Podcast, go to support@wishskinhealth.com, or you can even email us at connect@wishskinhealth.com, which is a specific box dedicated to just the podcast. Let us know what you want to talk about. Let us know guests. We've got so many exciting things coming up and planned for the future. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, like I said before, if you've got questions, this episode is brought to you by Wish Skin Health, the Microbiome Health Authority. If you've got questions about becoming an acne practitioner, go to trywish.com and we can fulfill all of your needs about acne. And I will leave you with this. Acne is the number 1 skin condition in the United States. It affects 85% of people between the ages of 12 and 24. Adult women are the highest onset of adult acne. If you are thinking about an opportunity for your aesthetic business, I highly encourage you to look into acne. So that's what I got for you guys today. Thank you so much. I'm so happy that we did this together. This podcast was amazing. I appreciate all of you for investing your time in this, and we're going to try to keep these at 45 minutes to an hour. Have a great day, and I look forward to talking to you soon.